folks another minute or so to join here. But we are excited for all of you to join us today and to hear a little bit from our program advisor, Cassie Brooks. So we'll give them maybe another 30 seconds or a minute here, and I will get our presentation here pulled up. Cassie and Meg, does that look good on your guys' end? All right. Well, let's see. It looks like 3:01 here. So we'll get started today. So like I said, welcome everyone. We appreciate you tuning in today to listen to one of our outstanding program advisors today. If you have been in attendance for some of the previous webinars, we've been covering one physical activity play along with a healthy eating play to help you all kind of get the brain juices flowing, come up with some new ideas for your school, especially with the new guidelines that you all face with the pandemic, but nonetheless, getting you some exciting ideas from some of our best program advisors from around the state. So today we'll be covering the physical activity play in-class physical activity breaks, good for mind and body, and the healthy eating play, breakfast for everyone, first meal matters. So to give you a little bit of an overview, to reintroduce myself and my colleague Meg, my name is Josh Lightman. I'm the Youth Wellness and Communications Coordinator at the American Dairy Association, Indiana, so short and sweet title there, along with my colleague Meg Magsamen. She is the Youth Wellness Community Manager, and her and I are your Fuel Up to Play 60 team at the Dairy Association. And then we are joined by one of our fantastic program advisors, who I believe has been involved with the program from its inception. So what, 11 years now, Cassie? This is Cassie Brooks. She is the health and physical education teacher at Brownsburg West Middle School. So to give you guys just a quick overview for those who are not familiar with Fuel Up to Play 60, or just to kind of give you guys a refresher, at a national level, the Fuel Up to Play 60 program is a partnership between the National Football League and the National Dairy Council in cooperation with the USDA. Here in Indiana, we're grateful to be partnered with the Indianapolis Colts and currently have our player ambassador, who is Quentin Nelson. The ultimate goal of Fuel Up to Play 60 is to help you all make those healthy changes that'll last a long time to help your students get to that level of leading a healthy life every day, whether it's in school, outside of school, or with their friends, whatever it may be, just being able to lead healthy lives. So without further ado, we will pass it on over to Cassie, and she is going to talk about the two plays that we mentioned at the beginning of what we'll cover, and she'll just dive right into kind of her side of things. Cassie, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Josh. And my contact information is right there. If you ever want to reach out to me, if you've got questions or want somebody to bounce ideas off of. Sometimes it's tough when you're the only person who's really invested in a project to begin with to kind of get things rolling. So I'd be glad to share ideas or bounce ideas off of each other and brainstorm to come up with some solutions that might work for you. So feel free to reach out. So a little bit of past history, as Josh said, I've been with this program for a long time. So if there's something that you're like, wow, holy cow, how did she do that? It didn't happen overnight. Really, my journey with Fuel Up to Play 60 and for my school is we just started out with something really small. We did one small play. It was a 1-day deal, and we kind of just did something really little to get kids excited about healthy eating. And then the next year, the kids asked for it again. And I was a little bit surprised that they wanted something that encouraged healthy eating, but they remembered it from the last year and they wanted it again. So we did that, and we made it a little bit bigger and a little bit better every year. And then I started bringing in student leaders and coming up with different ways that I could implement this program. As all of you who work in schools know, things change from year to year. So who and when I could do this program with kind of was a little bit up in the air sometimes. I initially started it as a homeroom class, where students were nominated to join, and then it became, okay, you don't have a homeroom class anymore the next year. And now what? So I went to an after school format. And then I wasn't for 1 year. There was kind of a hold on student clubs, and I didn't have space. And so I ended up doing it occasionally, a little bits in health class. And then I've gone back to after school club, and now I have a homeroom class again. So I kind of spread it out among different groups of kids. But really, the really exciting thing about it is that students are the leaders. We use their ideas to get things rolling and to carry things out. But another thing to remember is don't forget to partner up with your nutrition staff. They really need your help, and they have a lot of options and ideas as well. They may be thinking about trying some new foods, but they need a group of kids to try it out. Perfect. We can arrange that. So there's lots of things that we can do. Or if they're like, gosh, it would be great if we just had some way of announcing every day what's on the menu. I can do that. I have kids who want to do things. So I have kids writing announcements every day to be read aloud on our morning announcements so that everyone knows what's on the menu and whether they want to pick the one item or the other. They have a little bit more time to think about it before they hit the serving line. So definitely team up with your nutrition staff. We have a program called Grab and Go Breakfast, and this did not start overnight. This was a long time coming, but we had an issue in our school where at the time we had about 25% free and reduced out of about 1,000 students. Yet on a daily basis, we had fewer than a dozen were eating breakfast at school. We knew there was a gap. We knew these kids needed food, and the nurse was complaining kids were coming to class and then having to leave class because they had a stomach ache. Turned out they were just hungry. And rather than just continue to give them a little package of saltine crackers and a cup of water, I was talking with her, and we identified, oh my goodness, this is a significant gap. When we started talking nurse with me, with the nutrition staff, we kind of figured out, oh, there's not enough kids that are eating. And I kind of surveyed kids in some of my classes, and it turned out the kids that ran late that day, they just didn't eat. If it was a rough morning getting on the bus, they just didn't eat. So we knew we had to do something. We started a grab and go breakfast program where you can kind of see on the left top corner, that picture was in the actual cafeteria serving line. So that's one way to do it, where they can purchase a sack to take with them, a sack breakfast and a milk. And then to the right of that, you see where it's set up on a mobile cart. We have a lot prettier carts these days, thanks to some awesome opportunities through Fuel Up to Place 60, that we have some really neat breakfast carts. And this became so popular that the other middle school wanted it. Then the high school wanted it. Then the elementaries wanted it. And it just became part of our culture. So now we're at about 33% of our students eating breakfast at school every day. And so a little bit about how we got there. Yeah. One of the things that I think is really important with Fuel Up to Play 60 is having kids involved in problem solving. When I noticed it was an issue, and the nurse noticed it was an issue with these kids being hungry, and we could have come up with what to do, and we tried. We actually tried to do breakfast promotions. We wrote announcements to be read to kids to encourage their breakfast participation. We asked kids, hey, are you hungry? Why don't you go down to the cafeteria and get breakfast? We could not change anything. We couldn't figure out what it was. And the thing is, it wasn't student led. We weren't getting the student voice. And so what it took is having kids get involved with figuring out what's the problem here. When I showed them the statistics of how many students in theory were probably in a somewhat food insecure household, then I could definitely make the case that there were not enough kids getting breakfast. So what I ended up doing is say, okay, let's figure out what are some barriers to us getting an expanded breakfast program. I knew through Fuel Up to Play 60 that one of the options was a grab and go breakfast. And so then the problem solving happened. I asked students to interview the nurse, the administrator, the teachers, and figure out what were the problems. Well, there were a lot of concerns. And in order for us to get past that, we really had to come up with some good solutions. And when it was the kids working on it, they took ownership and they got their friends excited about participating. So there's some of the different things that we did. One, I think that was really important was getting the teachers' input, because there's a lot of teachers who go, no, kids are not going to eat in my classroom. They're going to be spilling stuff. Well, at the time, we had syrupy breakfasts. That was not going to fly in the classroom. And I didn't want syrup in my own classroom. So we got the cafeteria. We're like, oh, well, they have some things that have syrup like infused in the batter of the French toast sticks. We could do that, and then they don't need syrup. And we're like, perfect. We also had concerns from the nurse about food allergies. So we were able to take the most highly allergenic foods, the most common allergens, and take those out. So we have no nuts, no peanut butter, none of that that could be allergenic to some kids at all in the classroom. We kind of also said to the administrators, don't worry about the teachers being mad at you, let them be mad at us. And we were the ones that sold it to them. And we did it through sharing some of the fact sheets on the Fuel Up to Play 60 website about the benefits of student breakfast on learning. You can advance the slide. We also had to figure out how is this going to work? Well, funds for Fuel Up to Play 60 was a big help in that, getting some carts, getting some serving bags, some of those insulated milk cooler bags. We were able to get some tool belts almost that go around our rolling trash bins to have all of the cleaning supplies. And then the custodians obviously were not going to be happy about this if we made extra work for them. So my students said, we'll do it, we'll clean them up. And so they go around every Seek is our homeroom class. They go around every day and they pick up the breakfast trash, and they have the rolling barrels. They leave it just inside the cafeteria, and there's just that for the custodians to take out. We did have a little bit of an issue with stigma with kids with breakfast, and that was a tough one, but more to come. You can go ahead and advance the slide on that one. Selling the teachers, we use some of those fact sheets that are available on the Fuel Up to Play 60 website. And that's something where Josh and Meg can help you out if you're looking for something specific. I think last year I hit them up going, hey, I really need something on this. Can you come up with some fact sheets for me? And they were able to pull them quickly. So I had to sell the teachers on the why of breakfast. Go ahead and advance. Then I asked the students to help create a slide presentation. This is just a sampling of it, showing how breakfast was going to work, where to get it, what the expectations were, do's and don'ts. And my kids had a ton of fun going through some practice times where we did a run through with the cafeteria staff to practice the procedures, and we had fun making messes so we could take some don't pictures to include in their slideshow. Go ahead, Josh. So you can see some of the student made signs. Now, could I have made some that looked a little bit prettier with some of the Fuel Up to Play 60 graphics? Well, sure. But this again was student led. I had to kind of let go of the perfectionism with this program and just go, hey, this is kids doing it. Awesome. And so we did our trial runs. And we kept, I did make some pretty posters from some of the Fuel Up to Play 60 graphics. By the way, if you haven't seen it yet, on your dashboard on the Fuel Up to Play 60 website, under your name, there's like some statistics in your school and stuff, and there's a My Perks, and there are some different graphics that are available there for you. And you can look all over the Fuel Up to Play 60 website, or again, Josh and Meg can help you get some of the ones that you might want a specific, I need a white background, I need a transparent background. They can help you out and get some of those logos for you. But those were kind of I can't have kids put all of this information on a poster. They just can't make it legible that many times. So I had their input on what do we need on here? Okay, how about this? What does that look like? Okay, what do we need to add? And then we were able to color print those with some of our grant money and get those up around the school. And we then had to sell the concept of eating breakfast at school, which unfortunately we found out had a stigma that that's for poor kids. That was the kids' words. I could not figure out why all of these breakfast promotions, giveaways, prizes, special promotions, milk mustache contests, and photograph booths and stuff, why are these kids not eating breakfast? It took forever to get kids to accept that this is for everybody. And we got it done through the parents and through the teachers, getting the kids to kind of buy into it by letting them know what was going on, letting the parents know what's available, and then getting the kids to talk to their friends and go, yeah, I'm buying breakfast. Why aren't you buying breakfast? Oh my gosh, you don't eat breakfast at school. Why aren't you eating breakfast at school? A little bit of positive peer pressure. So we just had to let everybody know what was going on and why this was so important. Then we get to a physical activity play. And movement in the classroom is good for so many reasons. I find it's less boring for me as a teacher, that I'm not just sitting looking at kids going, "Oh." I get them tuned back in. As soon as I start seeing that, I know, okay, it's time for an activity break. Let's get up and move. And then the kids kind of break down their walls a little bit. You start to see personalities come out, like, as who's like, you can't make me move. Okay, you don't have to, you just watch. But I get some kids who'll get up and they're dancing all over the place. I had no idea they're the quietest kid in class, but you never know. So it's kind of fun for that. And I know it wakes up their brains, and that's how I sell it to them. I begin with my health class students, letting them know some of the statistics related to life expectancy for their generation. Right now, it's not looking good. It's looking like their generation is going to be the first one that does not live as many years as their parents' generation, my generation. So unless we do something about getting kids more active and with healthier habits. So you see the rainbow image. That was a student term. Somebody gave that name to it, but it shows a brain and the level of activity in it after moving, even just from a walk. And then I asked the kids, like, what's the problem obviously is here. What's the solution to getting kids more active? And let's look at what are some different ways that we could do it. And kids get really excited when they see that rainbow. It's like, oh, I get it. I make sure that I don't forget about the activity breaks by writing it into my lesson plan, putting it into the agenda, having it on my PowerPoint slides if I'm using a PowerPoint that day, so I do not forget to do it. Or when I get that look on too many kids' faces, a couple kids, and I'm like, okay, it's time. Let's go. Go ahead and change that. I listed a whole bunch of activity breaks that work for my middle school kids. That's a tough crowd. So I figure if they work for us, they probably are pretty good for high school kids who are now too cool for school. They're probably good for elementary kids. anyway. They're not complicated things. They're just fun and interesting and get kids moving. So there's links to descriptions of how to do several of these things, or you can just Google them and look for options. There's also a huge listing. If you go to the playbook and you look at the in-class physical activity breaks, that play, there's resources at the bottom of that with a ton of different ideas. And that's where some of these came from. But it could be as simple as playing the Itsy Bitsy Spider and having the kids sing and like doing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And they're like, what? Why are we doing that? And I'm like, yeah, but you're getting your right side of your body and your left side working together, coordinating, and it's visual and it's kinesthetic. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you're awake now. And they're like, oh, yeah, I kind of am. It's like really funny, but they get it pretty quickly. Anything crossing the midline of the body is really fun. So I got one for everybody here, really quick. Put your finger on your nose. I know this is really goofy. Then take your hand, wrap it around, and pinch your earlobe lightly. Don't hurt yourself. Now switch. Now switch again. How fast can you do it without sticking your finger up your nose or poking inside your ear? It's just a silly activity that gets your brain doing something different that it hasn't done before. And the kids start laughing. There's that cortisone or that cortisol, like that relief of like the bad stress and that improvement. I'm sorry, I'm getting my brain chemicals wrong. It's been a long day, but we get that like a little bit of, oh, okay, everything's good now. And just a little silliness, a little bit of movement, and that can be enough to bring them back into it. Of course, there's plenty of really physical things. You can do as many reps as possible, Tabata, follow the leader. There's all sorts of different things that you could do. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes is always my favorite. But I always start and say very serious, like, okay, so we're going to do this activity break, guys. All right, so everybody put your hands on your head. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. So they put their hands on their head. I'm like, okay, and now let's see. Let's do shoulders next. And I act like I have no rhyme or reason to it. And then we do the knees and toes. And I'm like, we go back to the knees and toes. And they're like, wait a second. I'm like, oh, I tricked you into doing a nursery rhyme. I'm so sorry, but let's just do it anyways. And then they have so much fun doing it. They totally relax and get ready for moving along. You can go ahead and advance this slide. I assume everyone can get back, Josh, and see these afterwards. Can they see the slides and access? Great. I've also set up activity stations. So depending on your COVID restrictions, some of these pictures were taken before COVID restrictions, but you can actually set up spaced apart stations in your room with different items that can be used. Depending on your allowance for shared equipment, you might not be able to do something like a kendama right now, or you have the sanitizing wipe that gets used on it right after this person uses it, then somebody else comes over and uses it. There's lots of different options for these things. And again, some links to show you how to do these, what to do, where, but students can kind of rotate among different stations. And I'm not trying to sell anything. I don't make any money off of these. If you do go to like the juggling scarves, I think it's Sport Time. That's just one of them that I like to order from. But I'm not getting paid from them. So just FYI, I don't care where you order it from. It was just, these are some things that have worked really well for me. In terms of instructional strategies, I like to think about how do I get my colleagues, my other teaching partners, to think about some different ways to get kids moving. So there's plenty of different instructional strategies that can be given to teachers as, hey, put this in your toolbox, figure out ways to get your kids moving in your classroom. And there's lots of different ways to do that. Obviously, again, these were pre-COVID photos where kids are close together and not masked, but you can have them spaced out and you can have different ways of doing things. So I used to do kind of a go around the room and look at the different things that were created by your peers And you could see them kind of posted on that wall. They were student created posters that they were learning from. Well, this year I went out into a big, huge hallway space and a big open area in our school and spread them out. And they had to be at least 6 feet apart, and only one person could be at each poster at any given time. So there's ways to kind of still make it work. And you can still have kids doing things at their desk, and just instead of raise your hand if, or not if, it can be stand up if this applies to you. So I did a warm up today asking kids, which stand up if you played in the snow or the last few days. And, a bunch of kids stand up, and they're like, okay, stand up if you shoveled or moved snow, and then the different kids stand up. So just little fun things to kind of get them moving. A lot of times I think other teachers in the building are just afraid of it because they don't know what to do. So if you can give them some suggestions, show them what it looks like, then they're more likely to try it. If you go to the next slide, there's some just fidgety kid ideas, having like little things available. And my favorite one, you can kind of see in the upper right corner in that picture, and upper left, where there's little red bands. That's just exercise tubing, any kind of flexible tubing. You just tie it around the bottom of the desk, tie it in a knot. It's COVID friendly. They don't touch it with their hands. They just touch it with their feet. And it just gives them a little bit of fidgeting space. Kind of, I let kids get up if they need to. If they're like, you have that one kid who's just a pain in the neck when he gets bored, and I say he, but almost always it's a he for some reason. Middle school boys. Sorry, Josh, no offense, but some middle school boys really need to move. And I have girls too who also have different reasons that I can't stand these kids around me. They're driving me crazy. Okay, they just point to the hallway. And once I see them point to the hallway, I nod at them, and they know they're allowed to go and take a quick walk break and come back. So that helps with my fidgety kids. Next slide. How do you get them on board? So I always say, like, I'm not going to ask another teacher to try something in their classroom if I'm not willing to do it myself. So I make sure that I try it first. Or even have a friend try it in their class before I try and ask everyone else to do it. And I demonstrate at a faculty meeting. If they actually participate in it, they're going to remember it better. And then you can even say, now, is your brain a little bit more awake than it was 2 minutes ago? See, that's what you want out of your kids. It's not that we're taking 2 minutes away from your instructional time. We are getting you a strategy to quick do a 30-second break, and now your kids are ready for another 20 minutes, and they're going to be better learners. So that's kind of how I've had to change that with them a little bit, and then giving them the actual handout. These are the things that you can do. And again, those are available on the website. I ask student leaders to thank the teachers that participate and do those things. You can do some celebrations. I thought it'd be fun to do an active classroom, like a certificate for those teachers, so they could post it outside as kind of a little bit of a, hey, I'm special. I do something cool. And then that would be something that the kids would start going, well, how come you're not in an active classroom? And put a little bit of pressure in a good way, because it's all for the benefit of the student. And I really want to get some of my students going to PTA and school board meetings when everything's all back in person, and actually show some examples of, okay, hey, everybody stand up, we're going to do this now. And you can even have kids create videos of their favorite activity breaks and send that all out to the teachers. And then it's just a plug and play. Teacher, you don't have to do anything. Here's the PowerPoint. You just click on it and it's ready to go. Most teachers are very appreciative of something like that that's ready to go, especially for those of you who are online, having that video that's already created and ready to go, that they don't have to make something, create something, figure out how they're going to do it. You just create it for them. They plug and go. You can, yeah. So in terms of getting started, I really suggest that you take a look through these if you haven't already, if you're not terribly familiar with the program. But the first thing I would do is, oh my gosh, go all over that website. Click on every single link. You will be shocked at just how much really is in there. And it's hard to figure out as you're going along if you haven't already kind of gotten a background and seen how many links are on there, how many resources, how many options for funding, creative options for funding, additional resources for funding. There are so many good ideas on that website and social media. I love the Indiana Fuel Up to Play 60 Facebook group. It's there for program advisors. There's a national one as well. And, work with your students to brainstorm what needs to be fixed in our school and how can we do this. And Josh and Meg are always there to answer questions and give ideas and help you out whenever you have any concerns or run into issues. Just really encourage you to take pictures, celebrate it, and get people excited about it. And then it starts becoming, oh, you're the person who does it. Hey, I have a question for you. And it ends up becoming bigger and you get more support as you go along. So it's just quick slide with a few pictures of how student leadership really pays off. I've had some amazing student leaders over time that just from participating in little things like making a milk mustache photo booth, and now they're in college doing amazing things. Some of them were leading at national summits and doing some really amazing things. So just more pictures of kids being involved and my contact info.
Cassie, you're so good. This overview was jam-packed, but of great content and so
Yeah,
helpful.
sorry about
I
that.
think.
I'm never at a lack of words.
No, Cassie, but we would be disappointed otherwise. But we love your way to connect within your staff, bring others together, and that's not an easy thing, like you're saying, when you're all kind of in silos doing the work. Of thinking of new and creative ways to do it. So your part of this program is huge and we're so glad to have you. So thank you for that. We're excited. We'll obviously be sharing this out more so others can be looking at it and obviously have a chance to reconnect with you to find out some more details on some of the whys for some of your programs. So thank you so much.
Great.
We did want to share a little bit more information just to make sure people were aware of these resources being readily available to you. The Fuel Up to Play 60 Homeroom is a really great program put together just this fall that has ongoing new content added every week that gives you great insights on ways to help the planet stay active, get your kids involved, fun aspects for teachers. So that's a great place to look at. You can easily find it by going to fueluptoplay60.com right on the landing page and then kind of connect back to that on a regular basis. Like Cassie kindly shared, we have a new Facebook page that's really targeted to the Indiana Fuel Up to Play 60 advisors or anyone looking to learn more about the program, connect, ask questions, know you're in kind of a friendly audience. So we'd love to have you join there if you haven't already. We also this spring have Farm Tour Fridays, which are a pretty awesome chance to get to see where your dairy foods come from. And there's also a scavenger hunt that's connected to that landing page on our website that the kids can then do as they go through and watch it. So it hopefully offers another chance to stay actively engaged in what's happening but a great chance to see more from the farm because my goodness, farming is not what people thought of. So innovative, so resourceful, just really incredible opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more and even ask questions directly of our staff and the farmers joining us. The other thing then is we have School of the Week and month going on right now too. So we'd love to hear more about what's happening at your program so we can help to highlight you in some form or fashion along the way. So always glad to get those updates. Now we are heading into March and this is a really fun time for us and certainly a big part of Fuel Up to Play 60 with breakfast being such a focus, which is why we're thrilled to have Cassie share more on how your program was able to really grow at Brownsburg. Part of trying to score big with school breakfast this year, we have several pieces available to help try and make this easy for your staff in schools to find new things to try out or maybe grow what you're already doing. We have a link here on our blog. It's a link onto this slide, but you can also find it on our website too to go in and learn more. Certainly great options are available through the SNA toolkit. We have linked to it great videos from our site as well so that you can show these great clips from our friend Quentin Nelson, as Josh said, our player ambassador, and our friend Blue, getting to see the dairy tour in a much quicker, more intense time frame than the bigger farm tours. And then even doing the cow to cafeteria, which is pretty cool to see how that milk really gets to the school for the kiddos. And there's activity sheets, some fun facts, recipes, and so forth. We will also be doing marches, live virtual farm tour on that Friday, a virtual of the National School Breakfast Week. So great chance to join us if you're free there. And then this is also a great time to just remind your teachers, your parents, your community about school breakfast being available. It's one of those things I think once the school year gets going, people get in their routine, but such a great reminder. If you want to try new recipes, certainly the reminder that so many of the schools right now are offering breakfast for free. And that really is a great opportunity to still support the school and the cafeteria by going down to get food. So certainly a great chance to be able to highlight that program that you have available or help try to grow or enhance it at the same time. And once you do, we'd love to hear about it. So we're going to put a fun contest together. So we want to know what you're doing to score big during National School Breakfast Week. Share photos, videos, whatever you might have to us. And we're going to be giving away a grand prize where we will be giving aprons for your full staff because, you know, it's fun to have fun new things to you. And then $200 Visa gift cards so you can celebrate with your food service team as well. So you can order in lunch, you can get new equipment, something else that they might need specific for your program. So we'd just love to hear what those thoughts are and then be there to help support you with it. So if you can submit those to us by that Friday of National School Breakfast Week, we'll be glad to share it out and then enter you into that contest. And then here, just a quick reminder that we will be sending out to you this recorded webinar. Please feel free to share it with any friends or fellow coworkers as well that you think could really benefit from these great tips. We will be putting together these additional play sheets as well. And then we are asking your help to complete the evaluation on this program. And we'll be sending you more goodies with our Quentin Nelson growth poster. We have a few of those left, so we'd love to be able to get them to you if you don't have it yet, and some additional Field to Play 60 swag. Very good. So we are so glad you could join us today on behalf of Josh and Cassie and myself and the rest of our American Dairy Association team joining us to Field to Play 60 with your school.
Thank you all. And like Meg said, just be on the lookout for a recap with all of the resources here by the end of the week. Thank you guys. And we hope you have a great rest of your week and head into the weekend, hopefully with a little bit warmer weather. All right. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks.